Have you noticed that most non-spiritual folks that ask about non-duality get super reactive and scared when it's pointed to? And if so, do you think that this is why most folks prefer to remain metaphorically asleep even though they've been awake all along? I think that question is so incredibly complex, because I think there's so many different layers to it. If you ever study Buddhism, and it's so many years ago that I studied Buddhism, so please excuse Buddhists out there and where I get it wrong. But they have like all these different realms as to when people are ready to wake up. And it's really super fascinating. Like you have the realm of the gods where people get like lots of pleasure. And so because they've got a life of lots of pleasure, they don't want to indulge in this question or this idea because they don't want their pleasure taken away. And then you've got the hungry ghosts that are so desperate for freedom, but they're looking for it in the material world, that they've got these really tiny mouths and then these gigantic stomachs and tiny throats, and no matter how much they try to fill themselves up, I mean it's with spiritual knowledge or with the worldly things, they can't fill themselves up, but it's represented through greed, through eating. So they've got tiny mouth, tiny neck, huge stomach, and they can't fill themselves up with food. And you've got, I think it's like 7 or 8 different realms, and then maybe lots of sub-realms, I forget, and maybe all Buddhist groups are different. So I think that the reasons that some people are attracted to this and some people aren't is not a simple answer. They're seemingly in their dream at different places. I feel like in order to be ready for this message, you have to be coming to the end of finding any joy, this sounds awful, but any joy or excitement in the dream. So it's like, it's maybe like old souls. If we look at like past lives, like you've lived billions and billions of lives, and there's an energy in the body that just knows they can't get freedom through pleasure or pain anymore. So there's this energy of giving up on the dream, and then therefore the energy begins to move inwards, because if you're not looking in the dream, where else is there to look but actually in the present experience? If you've looked everywhere else, the only place left is this way, in this moment. But in the ultimate end, it's all God's will. So when somebody is ready to come to this, they're ready to come to this. And that's deeply relaxing. Like it's not your job or anybody's job to bring this message to the masses. When each soul or being is ready, it will come to this message. There is nobody to save. You're only saving yourself as the divine. Thank you for your question. I ask as, upon returning from many months of silent retreat, my father, a hardcore atheist, non-spiritual, non-meditator, asked me what was learned on retreat. Upon starting to explain that the I was illusionary and that everything is more a process of appearing to happen simultaneously without a center, he got very triggered and scared and asked me to change the subject. I'm not laughing at him getting triggered and scared, but just asking you to change the subject. Yeah. It's that part. Yeah, we've all been there with the family where you begin to start and then they ask you to change the subject. Or they just stop listening after a few minutes. That's normally my experience. I don't really try anymore, but occasionally someone might ask me something, so then I'll try, and then they just stop listening. I'm like, yeah, Okay. It's funny.